Welcome to Not the Top 20 podcast, the first Monday pod of the 26-27 season, sponsored by Loaded in the Championship. West Ham burn after leading at Turf Moor, coughing up a 2-0 lead amid a barrage of Fleming. Millwall serve Bristol City, a double portion of Coburn Josh. While Lancashire's double was sinking Lincoln, Big Ilias took down Moose's Pompey, West Brom handled Norwich, and Adam Eder swanned onto the pitch to win it in Stoke. But first, George, some big news.
Yes, big news, exciting news. Loaded are the new title sponsors of the Monday Pod.
Yeah, Loaded is a digital game store, and it used to be known as CD Keys. It's been around for a while, but it's had a rebrand. It is Loaded, and it helps players get more gaming for their money on games, memberships, top-ups, and other digital gaming products. It's got an amazing 4.8 star score on Trustpilot, and what's clear is that Loaded offers unbeatable prices on games, on memberships, on vouchers, and also offers a quick, easy and reliable purchasing process, which is exactly what you want when buying games. And in fact, our producer Rick just told us that he's been buying his games from Loaded for years.
A man of sublime taste. They're also front of shirt sponsor for Derby County, which is really exciting. And as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, these kits look excellent, especially the one in pink. I think you look rather fetching in, Ali.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting couple of months. I'm very into Football Manager. I'm very into EA Sports FC. These are games I've been playing basically my whole life. We've got a new version of each game coming out over the next few months. The rest of 2026 is going to be packed with new games for me. I've always fancied myself on both Football Manager and EA Sports FC, so I'll be diving in head first, giving some brief and hopefully fun, entertaining updates each week on a Monday pod. But not just playing on my own and telling you guys about it. I want to add some competition and community as well. And so we're introducing the NTT20 video game challenge. Later on in the episode, we'll give more details. But in short, I'm managing Derby County to Champions League glory on Football Manager 2026. And I want you to do the same and take me on.
And I'll be making a few signings on your behalf.
Yeah.
But we basically became friends, through a shared love of football when we were kids, but actually really it was a shared love of Championship Manager 2001-2002. There were three of us in this friendship early on, me, you and Toe Madeira. So it feels like a nice full circle moment that we now get to talk about the game and play the game as part of our sponsorship with Loaded.
Yeah, we've actually got a WhatsApp group with two mates that's still called the CM Army. And we want you guys to be a sort of gaming army for us over the next few months. So please, step one, join the Discord community linked in the description. That's going to be the place, the kind of central hub for all of our updates and community challenges, and where you can get involved and post your own updates as well and take me on, basically. We're really excited to be partnered with Loaded for the Monday pod, and we hope that you guys will get involved as well. Right then, it's always pretty hard to know where to start with the running order on opening weekend, where literally every game is interesting to us. How about the one that George and I were at on Sunday in the sunshine? Watford 2, Southampton 1. George, a really good, sort of energetic start to the season for Alessio Dionisi and his Watford side. And for us, just a really great day to be at Vicarage Road.
Yeah, great day to be there. Was a fun game to attend. It felt like the Watford fans were bang up for it. As we arrived at Vicarage Road shortly before the game, having had a couple of pints before at the Railway in Bushy, with Charlie, Social Charlie, who's sitting here with us, and England Pod Dave and various others. It was, for Watford, start with them because they won the game 2-1. And given the way the summer has gone, as we discussed on the 1-24s, the fans promised some championship experience. The fact that they'd seemingly decided that was the glaring omission from what was needed at the club, to then hire a manager from Serie A in Dionisi and sign 4 players from Udinese and 1 from Bologna. What was said and what happened were two very different things. They started the game here with Marma, a 20-year-old on the left, with Iker Bravo, the new signing, who is 21, at number 10, with Dumbia, the striker, who's 20 up front, and with Nabizada, the right winger, who's 19 on the right side. Like, it's an incredibly young team with a manager we know little about. They only have 2 fit centre-backs at the whole club in Kevin and Pollock, fit or unfit. So it fit, with the uncertainty that always surrounds Watford, with the youthful nature of the team, it felt like this was going to be such an important game to basically set the tempo for the season. A lot of people have Watford struggling. A lot of people can see the quality in their team and think they could go okay this season. And they were, in the first half, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, such a good point, isn't it? Because by contrast, Southampton go into the season with Tondereka in the dugout and with broadly the same group of players that picked up the most points in the league for the second half of last season. So just in terms of what you expected to see out the traps, I would have expected to see Watford feeling each other out, so to speak, given that it was a group of players that haven't played much or any competitive football together, really. And maybe Southampton that would come out looking strong and secure and kind of understanding the game plan. But it was basically the complete opposite. Such good energy and intensity to Watford's play in the first half. By contrast, Southampton really slow out the traps, and they got caught out and they got punished. So Jack Stevens played an insane pass on the bounce, basically just looping one into a huge gap in the middle of defence after Doumbia had done a pretty good job at kind of wrestling him and Harwood Bellis from a long pass forward. And Iker Bravo arrived on the scene, took it so well. Like, you can see that it's opened up for him, but even so had so much to do. His first touch, his second touch and his third touch were all perfect to evade the defenders that were trying to get back, and then finished well past Peretz. And then it was 2-0. Where Ryan Manning, who's playing left back.
Remarkable goal, this one.
Yeah, he rolled into midfield, very much kind of doing the inverted left back into central midfield. The idea there is to try and open up the space out to the left, which is clearly where Southampton's attacks skew. They had Dobbin and Cienza playing, and they started off with Dobbin wide left and Cienza in the 10. They sort of flitted around a little bit, and it was clear they were trying to get the ball out wide and get those two to combine. But it didn't really. It looked quite awkward. And Manning, because he'd been in the centre of the park, played a ball out left that Nabizada intercepted. And this kid, this Watford kind of first league start, I think it is, he played for Afghanistan in the summer, but he also has played for England's youth teams and is still eligible to play for England. He played every game for Watford in the friendlies and kind of looks like a bit of a rising star. He just got the ball, carried it.
So deep, like halfway inside his own half. That's the key thing here.
Carried it. Stevens, obviously Manning's not there because he's been caught on the ball, giving it away. So there's a huge gap at left back.
And Cienza doesn't really make much of an effort to track him.
Cienza can't track it. Stevens doesn't come across until right at the end, by which point Nabizada's like 8 yards out on the angle and just passes it into the corner.
It's a extraordinary goal. To see a player pick up the ball where he did and then score, 10 seconds later is weird anyway. But when you consider that it's a 19-year-old making his first start, only recently turned 19 last month as well, just showed really good pace, poise, ability, and then the finish itself. I know that he was able to come so far and it took Stevens a while to come across, but then Stevens did actually kind of come across and try and block the shot, and it was still an incredibly tight angle, even though surprising to see that that Peretz didn't come and try and close the angle down a bit earlier. You said something really funny when he was kind of about to cross, and I think you just said, "Keep going."
Well, he got to the edge of the box, and you could see that his instinct was to look up and try and play the ball across, which you normally would from the right wing.
Because you'd normally be confronted with a covering centre back. Yeah.
I was like, mate, you've still got 8 yards here to carry it and then get a shot off with your next touch.
But then even the next touch we were behind the goal, and the next touch felt a little bit heavy to the extent that possibly Peretz would try and come and gather, but he just stayed in his line. It was strange. You compared it to Bellingham's goal against Croatia in the first World Cup game, and even in that goal, I was critical of the keeper for not coming out and closing the angle down. But
there's a bit of an edge to the game, wasn't there? And we've wondered what opposition fans will be like with Southampton post Spygate, and there was a lot of chanting about
spy in a minute.
Yeah, a lot of
too late, lads. They'd have spied a couple of days ago if they're going to do it.
There was it was great to be there from that point of view, and obviously we were in with the Watford fans. There was a real edge to it. The Watford fans were chanting about cheating whenever they could. It also seemed to me that there was a bit of an edge on the pitch as well. Like particularly Hector Cipriano in particular stood out, both for...
He hates cheating.
It did feel a bit like that. After Stevens' error for the first goal, Cipriano, running to celebrate with Bravo, made a beeline for Stevens and basically sort of shouted in his face as he ran past. And then at the end of the game, after Harwood Bellis missed an absolute sitter, Cipriano was laughing in his face as well. So it was just, there were loads of yellow cards, there were loads of heavy tackles. It was a fun game to go to. And in the second half, it was mainly Southampton pressure. Watford did a decent job, but still got a little lucky at the end.
Yeah, it was. There was one kind of key moment before the pressure really began to tell, where obviously Lauren put Saints, back to 2-1 shortly after half time. Really good play by Bragg, you have to say, who didn't have the best game. But in for the goal, he picked up the ball in midfield, drove forward. It was his layoff that initially gave it to Lara, and then he got the ball back and played a nice disguised kind of 2-yard pass to his left. It sounds like nothing, but he kind of managed to fool everyone to slip it into Larin, who finished well. Larin then had another opportunity to score shortly after that, which was well saved. He didn't quite catch it. There was a big moment where Bravo was sent clear on the counter, and Manning atoned for his previous error with an unbelievable tackle that I think live I didn't really notice how good it was until I watched back the highlights this morning. Really, really impressive. And then, as you say, there was a lot of pressure from Southampton. Watford had to show really good defensive nous. We'd seen Bowler come off injured and replaced by Zamura, so it was again like a back line of a new right back who making his debut. And Zamura, the left back, was making his debut too. Traore, the right back, and then Kevin and Pollock. And then a keeper making his debut as well. So three of the kind of finishing back five all making their first appearance for the club, having to come under sustained pressure. The substitution of taking Dobbin off and replacing him with Azaz certainly gave them a bit more goal threat.
Next few games, if you're Saints, you want to see Azaz in the 10, Cienza out left. Yeah. Dobbin can contribute over the course of the season, but I don't see the point in messing up what was working last season to get him in.
Yeah, and I said to you, I guess when you spend a lot of money on a player, you kind of want to bring them in straight away, but it does seem weird with Dobbin how he had two loan spells playing out wide in the Championship, both of which were fundamentally pretty underwhelming.
Mm.
And then last season at Preston, he played through the middle and was really good. You buy him off the back of that loan spell, and then you shove him out on the left-hand side where Cienza's had a lot of joy in the, where Cienza out wide last season was really good, and you put Cienza in the 10. I think, I think
Azaz has missed some time in pre-season through injury.
But even with the same group of players, you could fashion it so that you'd have Dobbin playing off Larin and Cienza out on the left-hand side, or even Matsuki on the left and Cienza on the right. I'm going to write a piece for my weekly column on NTT20.com. I'm going to write a piece about players who are who maybe used to be suited to playing number 10 like Cienza, but now I just don't think it's necessarily a position where you put ball carriers because you just get crowded. So if that sounds like something you'd like to read, then do subscribe.
NTT20.com, what a place that is. Yeah, I thought Saints looked a bit light in midfield. Obviously, it was Downs and Bragg. I thought Cipriano and Bove did a pretty good job in the midfield battle. And with Shea Charles having left and Casper Yander not involved here, they do look very light in that area. They look pretty poor at the back. And I am reminded that in the back end of last season, even during the good spell, their defensive numbers were not great and they were mostly being saved literally by Peretz in goal. So there's question marks over Jack Stevens right now and whether Wood might come back in and take his place.
Big speculation around Harwood Bellis.
Harwood Bellis to Benfica is being linked, and I frankly can't really blame Harwood Bellis if he doesn't fancy another season in the Championship. Feels like he's already played more Championship games than
completed it a couple of times.
His quality
huge
dictates.
Miss for him though, like really, really bad miss.
Yeah.
On his weaker foot. But even so, it was a proper kind of snatch and just fluffed it wide from kind of 8 yards out with the goal gaping.
I think people, and maybe Watford fans, and certainly in the League One episode, Notts County fans, and the 1-24s are fresh in all of our memories. So, but be clear that when a team that we didn't think was going to do well got a good result, and vice versa, like we feel it, we enjoy the feeling of it, and we see your messages. I'm not going all in on Watford yet, based on that. I was impressed. I enjoyed the spirit of the performance. I enjoyed the atmosphere at the ground, but I was mainly surprised at how poor Southampton were in the first half. Broadly rectified in the second half, and yes, their poor performance in the first half was partly due to Watford's own, flying out of the traps. But I'm not getting carried away here. This whole pod is basically for me is like observations rather than conclusions.
I think we're going to learn a lot from Watford's game next weekend at Wrexham, where it feels like here you've got a home game against a team who are going to play a high line against you. It kind of really suits what they wanted to do. In Wrexham, they're going to come up against a lot of big bruisers who are going to sit in, and for that quartet of attacking players, it's going to be a whole different kettle of fish.
All right, let's move on. Bristol City 0, Millwall 2. The best away side in the Championship last season, very much picking up where they left off here. In fact, creating the highest XG number in the entire EFL this weekend, Millwall, and partly because they were playing against 10 men for about an hour. Adam Randall, 2 yellow cards in the first half. Absolutely no complaints on either. The first one, he gets dragged out wide. Arcont, the new Millwall attacker, sort of spins him, rolls him, gets past him. Randall dives in, doesn't get there. It's a clear foul. And then, again, gets rolled in midfield. Millwall breaking away, puts his arms around the attacker to impede him. It's an obvious yellow card. He gets sent off. And at that point, 35 minutes or so in, fairly even game. Both teams had a couple of efforts each, notably for Bristol City, Tolai and Ballard. They're two big summer signings, League One attackers from last season. They'd connected really nicely at one point with a Tolai flick onto Ballard. Bristol City were going quite long into them where possible. I'm not sure Mill were the best opponents for that, with Cooper and Caleb Taylor at the back. With Cooper and a Taylor, George, obviously you've got one ancestor made barrels, one ancestor made clothes. Both of these guys have aerial duels at the heart of their DNA. And then obviously when it's down to 10 men, it's a lot more difficult to have two strikers like that on the pitch, and Millwall really pulled away here. Lisby came on for Femi Aziz, who got injured early on in the game, and Lisby with a really bright debut. He got the ball out wide. Ryan Leonard made a nice underlap from right back. Ball across for Coburn to score, and then another new boy, Metcalf, crossing for Coburn for the second goal. He really shrugged off Rob Dickey, who's had a tough time in both games so far this season.
Is that maybe an injury that could, I mean, so long as it's not too serious, I think it was a hamstring, could be quite good news for Millwall.
Yeah, Kramer's out as well. So it's kind of like, if Kramer and Aziz have injuries that prevent them from getting a move this summer, it's obviously not great for the bank balance of Millwall, which is important for their sort of trading system, if you like, player trading. Selling players is good, but might be quite good for their chances of promotion. So yeah, I mean, the game was over after 50 minutes, and Millwall could and should have had more. Arcont in particular missed an absolute sitter, but it doesn't matter. It's positive vibes, good debuts from Lisby, from Arcont, from Metcalf, whereas Bristol City and Skubala start the season with 2 home defeats to 0, one to Walsall in the Carabao, one here. You know, it is the first league game in what, to me, really looks like a new era on and off the pitch. So I don't want to go overboard, particularly with a first half red card. But I will just voice some concerns now, rather than kind of after timing and saying, yeah, I was always worried about this. Mate. So you signed Tolai and Ballard in isolation. I have no major issue with that. They spent a lot of money. That's the area of the pitch that they focused on, and that's fine. But if you play 2 up top, which I think if you sign these guys, you kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
There's no point signing Tolai and Ballard for quite a lot of money each and then being like, right, Ballard, you're off the bench and Tolai will start the game and you'll finish it. It doesn't really make sense. And Ballard is a sort of guy who did play up front on his own for Orient last season, but playing for Orient and a Richie Wellens team in League One, not very comparable, I don't think, to playing up front for Bristol City in the Championship. So probably someone that will benefit from playing with Tolai. So play those 2 up top as a starting point, absolutely fine. But then you have to make sure the rest of your team actually supports that, right? There aren't many teams that play 2 up top in the league in modern football, to be honest with you. So you have to make sure the rest of the team is set up and has players in the right positions with strengths that complement what you're going to do at the top of the pitch. Now, I don't really like Sam Greenwood as a fit for Tolai and Ballard, okay? As an individual player, he's got talent and technique, but he's a shoot-first attacking midfielder that's now going to kind of be wedged off the left by the looks of things. And him and Scott Twine, he seems to have taken Twine's minutes already. Those guys are both kind of shoot-first players rather than creators. And I think if you've got 2 at the top of the pitch, the system needs to be creating chances for them. That could maybe work if you've got a real attacking flyer at left back. So Greenwood could tuck in and you get the flyer. Someone really athletic with a good cross. But they don't have that in the squad at the moment. At right back, they've got George Tanner, who's definitely not that. And they've signed a lad from Crystal Palace called Cardines, who hopefully will come in and be good. But issues at fullback, if this is the system, in my opinion. Issues in the attacking midfield, or really the wide forward roles, in my opinion, if this is the shape. And in midfield, lots of space for midfielders to cover in a 4-4-2, and that comes easily to Jason Knight. But Adam Randall didn't look very comfortable defending space out wide, defending space in transition in this game. So some concerns about Bristol City. Great start for Millwall.
Okay, yeah, another away win that caught the eye. Portsmouth 1, QPR 3. Now, this started pretty well for Pompey. Terry Devlin scoring a ridiculous goal, really. We know that he can hit them from range. Gets on the ball, kind of feints, and then just hits the way he hits it is very weird. Kind of proper laces strike that kind of travels away from Charles and goal and into the top right corner. A brilliant finish. But then it's basically what happens from then until half time that turns the game. And mightily impressed by QPR. And crucially, a couple of players that were QPR players last season. One of them has been a QPR player for a long time, but haven't really been able to feature. Ilyas Chair playing in the 10 and Kwame Poku playing on the right-hand side. The first goal came from Poku down the right-hand side. He, with a good dribble, then set it back to Harvey Vale with such a nice little clip ball in that Chair kind of races in to finish. I think Roman Burrell, who's playing up front, does quite well to hold off Poole. He doesn't get to the ball, but he engages with him in a way that I think Poole probably would have got there otherwise. And then the second goal comes with a really nice slick counter-attack with a good ball around the corner from Burrell into Chair. Chair finds Koki Saito on the left-hand side. He has a deflected shot that goes in to make it 2-1 to QPR. And then after that, ahead of before half-time, it's Mbenge this time rather than Poku. Mbenge playing as a right back, gets down the right-hand side. He crosses to Chair, who I don't think it's the finish that he is meaning to pull off. I think he's trying to tuck it into the bottom left, and it kind of ricochets up, but goes over the line to make it 3-1. So Pompey go from being in a position where they thought they were in control to suddenly staring down the barrel, 3-1 down at half-time. As I say, Chair and Poku incredibly important to QPR's good first half. Harvey Vale very impressive, playing alongside Ronnie Edwards in midfield, which I like. I think Edwards is suited to that role. We know how good he is as a distributor, but also with his defensive nous and his ability in the air. I think he's someone who, having previously played there a bit for Posh too, it could be where his future lies. Pompey had some chance in the second half and showed some glimpses of what they could be about. Even though they lost 3-1 at home, it wouldn't surprise me if a few Pompey fans left feeling a little bit encouraged by what they saw. Great to see Josh Murphy coming on in the second half as well. His return to fitness will be big for them. But in the end, it was that brilliant spell from the QPR attacking players that turned the game, and it's an excellent start. I think for Julien Stéphan and QPR, given the way they finished last season, he's one of those managers that's kind of on my watch list, I guess, where it feels like if QPR lose a few games to start the season, he'd come under immediate pressure. But this was a big win, and I'm sure he would say that last season, had they had these players available for most of it, then things could have been very different. So impressive from QPR. For Pompey, frustration, and certainly could see how frustrated Regan Poole was getting with the inability to stop their midfield, to stop the kind of attacks and transition coming towards them, but some positivity going forward too.
Another away win with Swansea, 2-1 winners at Stoke. Stoke went ahead 10 minutes in, first shot of the season, and it was a nice goal actually. Bocat, the left back, finished it. Nice play down the left in build-up between Sorba Thomas, Bocat, and the new boy Ingleson as well, providing that drive through midfield that we know he can offer. Yeah, Swansea's equaliser was also a really nice play down the left. Timon and Fulton and Yo, the new left winger, combining the ball across to the other new winger, Opoku, who finished via a deflection past Johansson. Then we had in the second half, in a game that wasn't packed with chances, Sorba Thomas jinked inside and had a well-placed shot that was well saved by Lawrence Vigouroux. And then the big moment, a triple sub that Matos made. Adam Eder on for the Viper, scored with his first touch. Pretty neat that. And guess what? Down the left again, really nice build-up play. This time Stamanic and Fulton and Timon, and the ball across. Finished first time by Adam Eder. So still half an hour to play at that point. Will Stoke come on strong for an equaliser? Not really. Only 2 Stoke shots after that with half an hour still to play. I mean, it's impressive from a Swansea point of view to see it out like that, but huge questions about Stoke's attacking play and whether they have anything else other than Sorba Thomas individual quality about them. Certainly the jury's still out there, and a smattering of boos at full time as Stoke start the season with a home defeat. But Swansea positives. They look fun. They look good. Good performances kind of all through the pitch. Viggs made an important save, which he's done very well for the last few years. Excellent keeper for the level now, very much proven, having spent most of his career previously working his way up to this point. Welsh looked good. New centre-back who came down from Scotland. His debut with Cameron Burgess out long-term. He'll need to step up immediately and looked decent. Fulton looked like a new man in midfield. Swansea's surely one of their, if not their longest-serving player, and has had huge spells where he's been, not much more than kind of a fringe player. Started and looked super sharp in his passing and in his duels. Stamanic looked good as well in midfield. And the big one for me with Swans, the quality and the output of their new wide attackers is so important. So you've got Yao setting up Opoku for the opening goal. That's a great start. They have Jamestown Analytics supporting their recruitment this season, who they grabbed after Ipswich's promotion, left the Championship Jamestown slot open. And look, we don't know much about that operation. No one really does. But what people do know is that teams that have Jamestown Analytics supporting them tend to do pretty well. So good start from their two new young attacking wide players. Elijah Just made his debut here as well. Yom Ji-sung came off the bench. A really, really positive opening day for Swans and their travelling fans. And the same for West Brom, whose fans are, I think, probably cautiously really starting to dream.
But this is a funny game to
Can
analyse.
you cautiously start to dream? That's me at the start of most bedtimes, I think.
Yeah, it takes me a while. This is a funny one to talk about because I think it's going to be nearly impossible to talk about this game of football without and kind of please both Norwich and West Brom fans, but I'm going to try. Because a few things can be true. Like in the first half, Norwich were the better team.
Mm-hmm.
They created better chances. West Brom had just the one shot. O'Leary made some big saves, as he did in the second half as well. In the second half, Kellen Fisher had a really big chance that was saved by O'Leary. It was a really good defensive display from West Brom. It was a really good home display from Norwich, just without getting the goal that they maybe deserved. And then we've got a big controversy. Always easy to talk about without upsetting people as well. With Jimmy J. Morgan getting on the left-hand side onto a pass from Callum Styles. He crosses in. Hegerber puts the ball in the back of the net. I use the word put deliberately.
What did it hit?
His arm.
Okay.
And I would say it definitely should have been disallowed.
Mm-hmm.
His arms are raised. I'm not going to talk about whether it's deliberate or not. I think it's largely irrelevant. I think,
definitely irrelevant in the laws of the game.
Correct. So his arms are out in front of his body. It hits his arm and it goes in the back of the net. Immediately, Norwich defenders appeal for handball. Nothing given. Hegerber seems unperturbed. No hint of him being in any way sheepish about celebrating it. And it's 1-0 to West Brom against the run of play. However, the period of play after the goal is excellent from Baggies, who then seem to believe that they have the quality to go and make the point safe. They go close with an Isaac Price shot, I think deflected onto the crossbar that went out for a corner. I think from that corner, Phillips goes close with a shot that kind of just doesn't go over the line. And then Norwich come forward and have an attack. O'Leary then distributes it out to Morgan, who does sensationally. Down the left side, cuts in on his right, couple of feints, then finishes brilliantly. So he is the protagonist here, I would say. Like there'll be a lot of noise around other things. O'Leary, obviously, his saves were excellent, but whether or not it was, it was a handball. It's still good work for the first goal, and then he finishes brilliant for the second goal with a very good run. Chris Garden gets one back after another good O'Leary save late on in the piece, but it's too late. So my analysis here, my observations here would be really positive from Norwich. Like, I think the display was genuinely good. Positive about them pre-season. Saw nothing about this performance to dissuade me about them being a good team. And positive about Baggies, who defended really well against a good team for the majority. And then when their chances came, they took them, and they had more chances too. So, two good teams. West Brom come away as the winners, and in O'Leary and Jimmy J. Morgan, two really good performances.
Now on to the Championship opening weekends. Home wins. Charlton 2, Derby 1 from behind. Smodics put Derby ahead. Fraulo with a nice flick on. Morris and Smodics combining, and a solid finish, as we've come to expect from the Smod. Charlton with a new shape here. 4-2-3-1, having been three at the back evangelists for the last few years. I guess that it's designed at making them better at creating chances in open play. That was something they really struggled with last season. Early signs here, jury's still out, I think, that they weren't looking sensational. One of the things that Jones will have to work out is they signed Ali, Milanik Ali, and Carlin Grant. They already have Tyrese Campbell. All three of those players, albeit they're not the exact same player, they are broadly guys that do their best work on the left-hand side of a 4-2-3-1, so they'll have to work that out. Shifted some stuff around here. Did get level through set piece. Lloyd Jones, new contract, massive for Charlton, and got them level.
In every sense.
In every sense. It's brilliant they've been able to tie him down. And then the defining moment on 80 minutes, Tyrese Campbell, Charlton Academy graduate, and maybe this season, Championship attacking star. So he started on the right, but he was moved out to the left. Things weren't quite working, and he had the big moment to win the game. He got on the ball, looked like he was trying to cut onto his right foot, then shifted it to his left, and fired it brilliantly and powerfully low into the far corner. Now, that's particularly significant because Campbell has not been great at shooting with his left foot up to this point in his career, and in the position and role that he plays, in order to be a properly good Championship attacking wide forward, he needs to be able to be a threat on both feet, and this looks very encouraging. This will elevate him as a threat so much more. And the thing with Campbell is he's already got loads to like about his game outside of this. So he's really quick, he's really agile, he's a good dribbler, really hard worker. There's loads to like. But last season, albeit in a team that wasn't a great attacking team, he only had 3 goals and 3 assists. He played a lot of minutes, 0.18 goals and assists per 90. It's obviously low output for an attacking player. So this, to me, was particularly exciting. It's a young player I like a lot. Can he make the leap again this season? That will be huge for him, but it'll be massive for Charlton if so. And yeah, as I said, I think he now needs to start on the left. They need to work out where Carlin Grant plays. Does he play through the middle at the top of the pitch, or maybe as a kind of second striker, number 10? Not something he's done loads of. And then Milik Ali, I guess, at the moment should probably be a bench option, because I don't know how you get them all in the same team. From a Derby point of view, I think a decent performance from them. They're on the wrong side of a tight one here. I don't think there was that much in it. I guess my kind of note on the squad is they seem to have a lot of central attacking and central midfield players and very little wide forwards, a very little wide attacking threat. Like even their fullbacks are not like absolutely dynamite going forward. So they might be a little bit squashed through the middle, but you know, in Smodix and in Bobby Clark and in Oscar Fraulo and the new guy that we didn't see here, but I'm looking forward to seeing, Philip Bilbia. They've got a lot of guys who are, and Brewster, I guess, as well. Obviously then the strikers, Carlton Morris and Salverson, who came off the bench. Like a lot of guys that want to operate between the posts and maybe need to add some wide threats over the next few weeks. We referenced a potential Saudi injection of cash to Derby, which was going to make a big difference, and that very much fell through almost immediately after the 1-24s went out. So that is not happening for Derby. They lose here on opening day at the Valley.
Right, as we said earlier on, Derby County sponsored by Loaded, as are we.
We're like cousins of Derby County now. It's like we've got the same grandparents.
Yes. Kind of by marriage,
yeah,
because it's not, yeah. Anyway, it's time for the NTT20 video game challenge, brought to you by Loaded. This is going to be a community challenge, Ali, hoping other people will play alongside you, against you, however they want to see it, send in how they're getting on. But can you outline what it is exactly you are doing?
I'd love to. Yeah, it's funny you say like play against me, alongside me, but that is kind of it's kind of the beauty of video games. It's not something that we've talked about loads on the pods before, but it has been quite a big part of both of our lives. And like, actually, this is now a period of my life where I'm starting to realize like the positive benefit of just losing myself in a video game for an hour or two, like for whatever reason, mainly my own character flaws. I can be quite intense when it comes to work. Home life can be quite intense as well with a little one. So being able to kind of just lose yourself in a game for a bit has become much more important to me than maybe it was a couple of years ago. So yeah, like I'm excited about the new EA Sports FC game that will come out in about 6 weeks' time, and we'll be playing that as soon as it's released. The new Football Manager game I'm really looking forward to, which will come out a bit later on in the year. But for now, I just want like a short-term challenge on FM26 that other people get involved with, and just see like who among the listeners is the best Football Manager and whether I've still got it, basically, because previously I really fancied myself on this game. And we're going to manage Derby County.
Okay.
So we're starting at Championship level with a pretty simple short-term aim. Well, it's not a simple objective, but the aim is simple. Get to the Premier League, get to the Champions League, and go one better than that Derby County side from the early 70s, which reached the semis of the European Cup. If anyone can get to the final of the Champions League and win it with Derby County, I'll be pretty impressed. Deep down, I back myself,
right?
But I think it's going to be quite difficult.
So given that other people are going to be playing this, is there a timeline? Are you going to be playing this kind of a lot over the coming weeks?
I mean, people play the game at different speeds, and obviously it depends how much time you've got to put into it. I'm not going to say like you can only play a season a week or half a season a week. I'm going to be talking about my progress on the pod for the next 6 weeks or so on the show, but people will be able to play quicker than me, and some might play slower than me. We've got a Discord server set up, which is basically going to be the kind of the hub for anyone that likes Not the Top 20 podcast, likes video games. We have got the NTT20 Gaming Club. It's run through Discord, which is the best place for sort of gaming communities online. Many of you listening will already be part of Discord servers, kind of chatting about games, video games and gaming. The link to join is in the Discord server. There'll be full kind of rules and regulations, if you like, for the community challenge. But really, it's just start a save with Derby County, as I have. I've actually started in June 2026, which you can do on FM26.
Nice.
Because they added the World Cup game. You can start basically 2 months ago in real life terms. So skipping the 25-26 season, I'll be taking over Derby from June 2026. And I've just talked about the squad. I'm going to be looking to add some pace out wide.
Yeah, okay.
Corey Blackett-Taylor, big fan of your work. Let's give you some
support.
Bit of support out wide.
Any good youngsters? How's the academy looking?
So this is an important part of this, partly because when you begin managing Derby County, one of the things that's outlined by the board is develop players from the youth system. It's obviously something that Derby have done about as well as basically any championship team over the last few years. And I love putting youth development at the heart of my Football Manager save. So that is going to be a big thing for me. I'm going to self-impose a rule that there has to be an academy graduate on the pitch playing minutes in every single game, not necessarily starting. And I guess Owen Eames is currently kind of the jewel in the Derby academy crown at the moment. Young central midfielder, going to be quite hard to get him loads of minutes with, Bobby Clark there and various others. But yeah, I'm going to set myself a bit of a youth development aspect of this as well. I want the Derby County Academy to be a big part of my Derby County team.
Love that. So if people want to play along, how are they going to do that?
Yeah, just join the Discord server. That'll be the place to track your progress and mine outside of talking about it on the pod. Fairly loose rules. Just start a new save on FM26. I don't care what you choose to be your manager profile, your previous experience. I've gone for no previous managerial experience, but some work as a pundit in the football media,
correct,
which is accurate. And yeah, start.
You made yourself 45 like real life.
I've made myself 34 like real life.
Okay,
which is a great age for a talented young manager. And I'm going to be trying to take Derby County to glory. So if that sounds up your street, please do get involved on the Discord server. Just click the link in the description to get there, and let me know, what you want from a loaded segment going forward on NTT20's Monday pod. Right, Bolton Preston was always going to be quite interesting, given that we had both in our bottom three in the 1 to 24s. Any takeaways from Bolton 2, PNE 1?
Yeah, Bolton continue a trend of winning playoff finalists having a really great opening first day at home. Oxford had it when beating Norwich 2-0 a couple of years ago. Charlton had it last year with Harvey Knibb scoring late on against Watford. And then Bolton have it this time, beating Preston North End 2-1. And they were excellent in the first half. Mm-hmm. Really, really good. The opener came relatively early on in the game. McAtee having a shot from range. Poor keeping, I would say, from Everson, who kind of parried it into Derby's path, who was able to convert. And then a brilliant second goal not long after. It came from a Preston set piece. Ahan played it into McAtee, who played a really good ball down the left-hand side to Thierry Gale, who had a lot to do, but stood up the fullback and bent a lovely shot into the far right-hand corner. He's, when he's good, Thierry Gale's one of those players, when he's good, he's good. When he's off it, he kind of goes missing. Our friend Matt Harrison, who has a Bolton Wanderers podcast called The Lions of Vienna, he messaged us after the game saying that Thierry Gale is solar powered, which I really liked. Basically very good when the sun is shining and goes missing in the winter months. But hopefully the sun will keep shining, because that was a great start to life for him in the Championship. They nearly went 3-0 up. Derby had a goal disallowed just before half-time with McAtee seemingly offside in the build-up. McAtee then went close after half-time, and Derby had a really good opportunity to make it 3-0. And then the game kind of turned on the substitutions that Paul Heckingbottom made. I think there were quite a lot of Preston fans a bit frustrated to see some players not in the 11. Afire came on and provided some thrust down the right-hand side at right back. Leroy, the new centre midfielder, came on and gave him a bit of control. And crucially, Arabi came on alongside Osmajic. And Osmajic then was played through 1-on-1 and tried to square it to Arabi, but got it completely wrong. I don't know if it's the case of Arabi assuming that Osmajic wasn't going to square it, so kind of stop running, or if it was just a really badly played disguised ball. But either way, that was a huge chance for them to get one back. Then we saw Vukovic come on down the left-hand side and Small on the right, and again, that completely turned it in Preston's favour, both of them providing way more threat from those wide areas. Arabi headed in a Vukovic cross, a really good header. That's
nice
second,
header.
Second goal in 2 games, including the cup chance, the cup game. And then, when you have a half chance and a big chance to fall to a man, Liam Lindsay ended up getting both of them. The miss at the end was really, really poor. A glaring chance that he should have done much better with. So
it reminds me a bit of the Watford-Southampton game in that very clear that Watford and Bolton fully deserving of their half-time leads, their 2-goal leads, and yet leave being like, well, undeniably quite fortunate that big chances were missed against them right at the end.
3 points come from missed chances, exactly. Like I do think if you are Bolton, you are saying, well, we were by far the better team when the match really matters. I think we'll see Preston surely for the home game against Wolves on Saturday ring the changes in terms of personnel. Like I cannot see a world where Thierry Small shouldn't be starting games. Arabi looks really lively. A fire has to be in that back line. I know Leroy who came in. I think we'll see a very different Preston team relatively soon. But there was something for Preston to hang on to, and they're being a bit more aggressive in the transfer market as well. Weird situation with Stan Mills, with him seemingly being confirmed by Aaron Ramsey to be joining Preston in January. That it feels like they need a right-sided winger. So where that leaves them in terms of this window, we'll have to see.
And then we also had at the Riverside, Middlesbrough 2, Lincoln 1. Not often, George, that in North Yorkshire you might hear the song, "Oh, lanky, 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 Lancashire." But I think we might hear it quite a lot this year.
I think they're singing "Can't Start a Fire."
Right.
Will Lancashire's on fire.
Makes more sense.
We sang Playing the Championship of the Pop. I think they've changed it to something better.
Yeah.
It's another game. I'm sorry to be boring, where I'm just going to be positive about both teams. Maybe this one's more likely given, for Lincoln, they had it all to do. We had Borough as our top placed team in our 1-24s. Lincoln, having lost their best player and their manager, how are they going to react? And it turns out really well. Like on very, very little evidence, it feels like Lincoln are the ones who look like the team from last season, whereas Skabala moves on and, didn't necessarily look to have built a team, at least in the kind of first half an hour or so when they had 11 men who were in the image of the successful side. The goal that put Lincoln ahead was just brilliant. Wickens, the keeper. What I love about this is they, against a team that press so aggressively, when Wickens plays the ball forward to Draper, he's taking it from an advanced area. Like Lincoln have basically managed to squeeze up and basically pretty much get 10 men into Middlesbrough's half, which is so important to do because they're not going to be able to do that very often because they aren't going to be able to control the ball. Draper plays a brilliant kind of flicked header back to Deriqua, a right back, who delivers the perfect cross to Reach, and Reach finishes brilliantly. Adam Reach, a Middlesbrough Academy graduate who kind of really broke out there, scored some amazing goals for them, and reminding the Riverside faithful exactly what he could do. Wickens then made some really good saves. Lancashire went close with a header. Carl Joseph did nothing wrong with a close range chance that the Wickens managed to tip over. He does just feel like one of those players, Carl Joseph, that either misses chances or draws ridiculous saves from goalkeepers. And then in the second half, the pressure kind of continued to build from Borough, and Lancashire did well to kind of turn in a Castledine shot that was headed wide. Initially looked like a deflection, but he actually does well to kind of rearrange his feet and managed to divert it home. Lancashire then hit the bar, did well again. It was from a corner, and he managed to kind of track the ball from a corner and sort his feet out and loft a left-footed shot against the woodwork, which Pert Harris then tried to spin and hit, but hit it over the bar. And then one of the best assists of the day was the telling moment in injury time. Riley McGree, who came off the bench, getting the ball in the right corner, managed to spin his man a couple of times, gets down the byline, and a brilliant outside of the boot left-footed cross that that man, Will Lancashire, is there to turn in. So for Borough, they'd have liked to have won this more convincingly, but there's got to be an element where their new big money signing, scoring twice, having already scored in the Carabao Cup, just endearing himself massively to the home fans, scoring a goal late on to get that build the momentum up going into the next game. It wasn't necessarily dominant, but I think Lincoln are going to be a good team. I just do not agree with the idea that Lincoln are the worst team in this league. And I think on the evidence of Saturday, they're going to make life very difficult for their opposition. They also had a goal disallowed through Olafe at 1-1 as well. So they were still offering kind of an attacking threat too. So Lincoln impressive. It'd be heartbreaking for them, but they can come away from it knowing that they can compete at the level. For Borough, not a great performance, but Lancashire the hero and an important 3 points to get underway.
Yeah, and I think just after the game, the signing of Ashley Phillips, young centre-back confirmed, 5-year deal for Borough. Just quite fun what they've done with the Hackney and Rogers money, isn't it? By Vitek, 22-year-old keeper with Championship proven championship quality, and probably potentially a lot more than that. Ashley Phillips, 21-year-old with loads of championship experience already, huge potential, and then obviously Lancashire up top as well, and some other bits and bobs. It's good fun. A couple of draws as well. Burnley 2, West Ham 2. Many people commenting that this was kind of like Ford Super Sunday. I'm about 15 years late there. It was like a kind of Premier League Super Sunday, but slightly wonky because you've got the EFL patches on the shirts. Burnley 2, West Ham 2. Yeah, I mean, Kilman heads home a Bowen corner to put them 1-0 up in a first half that had more Burnley chances than West Ham chances. And then West Ham went 2-0 up in the second half, where the young midfielder Kante, for the second time in a row, having done it in the Carabao Cup against Portsmouth, just shows remarkable ability to kind of from a standing start, kind of twist, turn, and then burst away from a defender and then set up a chance. He did it against Pompey, did it here. Manuel Solomon, that is, benefiting from that. One of West Ham's only kind of new signings so far, probably their biggest name new signing, made it 2-0. And from that point, you're like, oh yeah, West Ham have come down. They're the strong favourites to win the league. They're much better than Burnley, who are of the three, look like the ones who are going to really struggle to adapt. But instead, Burnley seemed to be fairly confident. What they were doing was more or less working, and if they kept going and kept creating chances for Fleming, he might get them back in the game. They were helped a wild challenge from Scarles, the young West Ham left-back, giving away a penalty which Fleming scored. And then a set piece near the end, kept alive, and Fleming smashed it in. So he ends up with 2 goals from 9 shots total. They created plenty for him, and they end up getting the draw. And it probably left me, most positive about Burnley of the 3 relegated teams, with Wolves having drawn 2-2 on Friday night against Blackburn.
I think Burnley were the best team at 0-0, the best team 1-0 down, the best team at 2-0 down. Yeah, it was a funny one. The game looked different to how I thought it was going to look, especially with West Ham taking the lead early, with West Ham actually having more of the ball. But again, as I mentioned in the 1-24s, I don't think that is. And I hadn't heard this, but apparently Nuno went on the record in the week and said that he wanted them to be a team that dominates the ball. Massive red flag to me that. Again, not a coach that has shown any ability really to coach a team that dominate in possession. And Burnley seemed to find it easier to create chances and open play than West Ham. So having said that, West Ham will feel mightily aggrieved to have squandered a 2-goal lead with 10 minutes to go. But I agree. You look at those two teams, going into the season, West Ham 7-4 to win the league, and Burnley 14-1 to win the league. Then you look at the way the two of them played, and of course Burnley being at home. But I don't think there's much between the two now. Yeah,
Wolves were at home on Friday night, 2-2 draw against Blackburn.
Feels like a long time ago.
Yeah, what a NTT20 season launch party we had. Thank you to everyone that came and joined us in Bermondsey. We watched Wolves and Blackburn draw. Wolves were definitely not purring, a little bit trying to work things out early in the game, trying to work out some patterns in possession. Eventually had one really nice move that led to the opening goal from Munetsi, but was all about Fer Lopez. And I think the first half for me was all about getting to know Fer Lopez, because bloody hell, what a player he is.
Looks like a good footballer.
I would love it if he sticks around for the whole season. One nice move in which his pass split Rovers' back line open, and Munetsi had made a deep run for midfield to finish. But it wasn't looking great, and instead of seeing it out, getting stronger from that point, Rovers had a really good spell before half-time and after, and they were 2-1 up. McLaughlin heading home a good run and a good header from across from Morishita, and then a nice move down the right just after half-time. Morishita into Afolayan, ball across for Gudjonsson to finish. So really positive signs from a Rovers point of view there. Wolves looked completely out of ideas until a cross slung in from the left near the end. Alabiosu jumping to try and block it. His arm comes out. His feet are outside the box, but potentially when the ball hits his arm, it's on the line. Very, very tough to call. I don't have any particularly strong thoughts. At the time, after 6 or 7 pints, I felt like it was a disgrace and that Blackburn did not deserve that. I think realistically, in the cold light of day, people seem to think it might have been a great call from the ref. Either way, it was given and Jimenez scored it.
There's an issue to it, which is that the ball hits his arm, and I think it's basically impossible at any angle that I've seen, whether it's in or out, and I'm sure there will be some that I haven't seen. It's the way that the impact that the ball has on hitting his arm means that his arm then flies out to the side, which means that then visually it looks like his arm is in the box, but I don't know if it is a point of contact.
Well, impressed with Rovers, not that impressed with Wolves. Match drawn, all eyes on how they follow it up in their second game. And finally, George, Sheffield United 0, Birmingham 0 was a match that happened. Any strong thoughts?
Yeah, as per tradition, I won't spend too long on this, but it felt like a game where Birmingham were the better team, but Blades created the better opportunities that all came closest to scoring, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Bamford had a kind of acrobatic effort that just went wide in the first half. Then I'd say Birmingham dominated the 20 minutes before half time and the half an hour after half time. And then it kind of opened up a little bit in the last 15 minutes or so. Patrick Bamford had a one-on-one that was well saved by Beadle, which was kind of the biggest chance of the whole game. But Cochrane looked good at a left back again for Birmingham, created a lot of chances with his crossing. And having been a sceptic about Birmingham in the summer, it was probably of the two teams there, the one I came away thinking, yeah, they look like they could be a good side this season.
Nice. We got Cardiff v Wrexham Monday night, 8 p.m. to round off opening weekend. Good solid start to the Championship. I think, as you can probably tell, a lot of games that we think were competitive, fairly evenly matched, with both teams having spells and, as is often the case, in tight matches, finishing the deciding factor in a lot of these games. So it gives me hope for a really competitive Championship season. None of the three big Premier League parachute payment teams coming down one, and that's always a good start for competitiveness as well. So Cardiff Wrexham should be good fun. First league fixture for 24 years. Got a nice little Wales mini league this season with Swansea, Cardiff and Wrexham all in the league, and we're looking forward to catching up on that. Dear Ali and George is a bonus podcast for subscribers of NTT20.com. It's a very straightforward format, just a Q&A. You send in your questions on Substack, we answer them. And it's good fun. So if you've got any questions off the back of this, why not become a paid subscriber of NTT20.com? You can get any bonus podcasts through Spotify or your podcast platform of choice. You don't have to listen through a different app. And join us for Dear Ali and George, which will go out on Thursday. With thanks to our sponsors, Loaded, and for you, hope you've enjoyed this first Championship recap of the season from NTT20 Pod. Cheers and go well.